It's May, and I've just awakened from a nap, curled against sagebrush the way my dog taught me to sleep, sheltered from wind. A front is pulling the huge sky over me, and from the dark a hailstone has hit me on the head. I'm trailing a band of 2,000 sheep across a stretch of Wyoming badlands, a 50-mile trip that takes 5 days, because sheep shade up in hot sun and won't budge until it's cool. Bunched together now and excited into a run by the storm, they drift across dry land, tumbling into draws like water, and surge out again onto the rugged, choppy plateaus that are the building blocks of this state. The name Wyoming comes from an Indian word meaning at the Great Plains, but the plains are really valleys, great arid valleys, 1,600 square miles, with the horizon bending up on all sides into mountain ranges. This gives the vastness a sheltering look. Winter lasts 6 months here. Prevailing winds spill snowdrifts to the east, and the new storms from the northwest replenish them. This white bulk is sometimes dizzying, even nauseating to look at. At 20, 30, and 40 degrees below zero, not only does your car not work, but neither do your mind and body. The landscape hardens into a dungeon of space. During the winter while I was riding to find a new calf, my jeans froze to the saddle, and in the silence that such cold creates, I felt like the first person on earth, or the last. Today the sun is out, only a few clouds billowing. In the east, where the sheep have started off without me, the benchland tilts up in a series of eroded red earth mesas, planed flat on top by a million years of water. Behind them, a bold line of muscular scarps rears up 10,000 feet to become the Bighorn Mountains. A tidal pattern is engraved into the ground, as if left by the sea that once covered this state. Canyons curve down like galaxies to meet the oncoming rush of flat land. To live and work in this kind of open country, with its 100-mile views, is to lose the distinction between background and foreground. When I asked an older ranch hand to describe Wyoming's openness, he said, "It's all a bunch of nothing, wind and rattlesnakes, and so much of it you can't tell where you're going or where you've been, and it don't make much difference." John, a sheepman I know, is tall and handsome and has an explosive temperament. He has a perfect intuition about people and sheep. They call him High Pockets because he's so long-legged. His graceful stride matches the distances he has to cover. He says, "Open space hasn't affected me at all. It's all the people moving in on it." The ranch he was born on takes up much of one county and spreads into another state. To put 100,000 miles on his pickup in 3 years and never leave home is not unusual. A friend of mine has an aunt who ranched on Powder River and didn't go off her place for 11 years. When her husband died, she quickly moved to town, bought a car, and drove around the states to see what she had been missing. Most people tell me they've simply driven through Wyoming as if there were nothing to stop for, or else they've skied in Jackson Hole, a place Wyomingites acknowledge uncomfortably because its green beauty and chic affluence are mismatched with the rest of the state. Most of Wyoming has a lean-to look. Instead of big, roomy barns and Victorian houses, there are dugouts, low sheds, log cabins, sheep camps, and fence lines that look like driftwood blown haphazardly into place. People here still feel pride because they live in such a harsh place, part of the glamorous cowboy past, and they are determined not to be victims of a mining-dominated future. Most characteristic of the state's landscape is what a developer euphemistically describes as indigenous growth right up to your front door. a reference to waterless stands of salt sage, snakes, jackrabbits, deerflies, red dust, a brief respite of wildflowers, dry washes, and no trees. In the Great Plains, the vistas look like music, like kyries of grass. But Wyoming seems to be the doing of a mad architect, tumbled and twisted, ribboned with faded deathbed colors, thrust up and pulled down, as if the place had been startled out of a deep sleep and thrown into a pure light.